Yeah, thank you very much. So, obviously, the three questions. First of all, thank you to everyone for being here. You know, the media attention, I think, is very, very important so that the general supporters, the public, know what we're going to try and do. In terms of our initial objectives with the team, the nature of international football is that there's one primary objective, and that is to win football matches. You know, that has to be the first and foremost. We have two games coming up against the Seychelles and against Gabon. Two very different challenges, two very different teams, and we have a very short time. But our aim is to bring the players together. That process has already begun. Over the last week, I've spoken to maybe 40, 45 of our players who've been involved over the last 2 years, 3 years, even some of the young guys who are coming through from the U20s that had success last year. So we're already in communication. They know what my style, what I expect of them is. And also I know what they expect, because a big question for them was, what do you want to see happen with the team? You know, what are your objectives as individuals for the team? And so, yeah, for us, we mentioned in the presentation, we want to move forward, we want to improve, we want to win football matches. There will be, stylistically, a little bit of a evolution with the team. You know, the team has done very, very well over the last 5 years, you know, historically well. And now, can we improve on it? Can we take the team forward? Can we make us maybe more dominant in games, more, I don't know, creative in games? And yeah, in terms of my background, I think I've worked in many different countries. And I think one of the biggest assets I have is adaptability. You know, it no longer gets asked. The question no longer gets asked of how will you succeed in this country every time I go to a new country. Because before, maybe someone would say, when I went to Asia, oh, you've not worked in Asia before. Will your success in West Africa translate to Asian football? When I went to East Africa, again, the question was, okay, yeah, you've had success in the West and in Asia and in Europe, but do you know East African football? But again, we were successful. So I think my career has been sort of rubber stamped by adaptability and ability to be flexible so that I can bring my standards and my ideas, but also sort of incorporate myself into the local culture and the local DNA of a country and a club and a federation. So I think my adaptability is one thing that I can always rely on, that I learn very quickly from the people around me. And also, having spent 5 years in Sierra Leone, I think that will play an important role in my adaptation here in the Gambia, because yes, every country is unique. But I also know, speaking to people, that Sierra Leone and the Gambia, whilst there's a few borders between us, there is a lot of similarities between the two cultures, between the two countries, between just how people are in their daily lives. And so I think my experience in Sierra Leone, both in everyday life as well as with the national team, is one that will help me get settled in very quickly here. But yeah, our objective is to win straight away and also win in the long term and qualify for tournaments and go deep into tournaments. Our ambition is to ask the players who've been there over the last few years to do even more in the coming years, but also to incorporate the young guys. You know, the young guys from the U20s, the young guys, some who weren't even part of that U20 squad last year, who also have huge potential. So, yeah, it's going to be an exciting journey. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I believe the players are really looking forward to it. And I hope the supporters are really looking forward to it.
Thank you, Coach. Next question.
I think if you look at my career, I've never been afraid to incorporate young players. In fact, if you go back to the very beginning of my professional career with Sierra Leone, in the opening match, we had a World Cup qualifier against Tunisia, and we gave a debut to a 16-year-old George Kweku Davis, who at the time had not even played a Sierra Leone Premier League game. He was still at an academy in Sierra Leone, but we could see there was a sparkle, and we knew he had to play, and he was man of the match against Tunisia that day. And so I'm never afraid to incorporate young players. However, it is interesting to note, there's always, people like new things. the nature of human nature is we all like new things. We like to buy a new car, we like to buy a new phone, a new watch. The new thing is what we all like. But we shouldn't be so quick to discard the reliable thing, the thing that has served us well in the past. This current group of Gambian players have served this nation incredibly well over the last 5 years. They also have a fantastic age profile. At the most recently concluded AFCON, there was only 3 or 4 players who were in their 30s in that squad. Gambia has a huge number of players in the national team pool between the ages of 25 and 29. That, in essence, is your peak years. That's where you would expect players to be performing at their best. So, yes, we have young players. Yes, we have the likes of Mamadou Badjo, Alaji Sen, the likes of Bojang, all breaking through, Yankuba, Minte. Great young players breaking through. But they've got to force their way into the team. They have to take the shirt off somebody who has been and is continuing to be successful for the Gambia. So it's a tough decision for a coach. It's a good decision to have. I would rather have more talent than less. But for me, it's about performance. For me, it's about who's playing well, who deserves to have the shirt. And if a 19 or 20-year-old deserves to have the shirt, then he'll get the shirt. And then the onus is on him to play to the level that keeps him in the team. But I think I already said, in the last week I've spoken to around 45 of our players. I've spoken to technical staff. I have spoken to 1 or 2 people who've been here with the Gambia before in the technical staff. I've also spoken to international scouts and people who focus on the Gambia for talent recruitment. Because, look, I'm not just excited about the 19, 20-year-olds breaking through. I've been flagged up some 15 and 16-year-olds who aren't going to be playing in that red shirt for another 4 or 5 years, but who I've been reliably informed by people I trust in the game that they could be the next big stars of African football. And they're only 16 years old now. So it's a very exciting future, and, we'll name the squad later in the week. Some of the young guys are going to get their opportunity. I think the average age of the squad later in the week that you see will be around 24 years old. So it's a young profile to the squad. But we also have high expectations of the guys who've been there and done it over the last 5 years. And I expect most of them to join us on this journey, at least for the next 2 years, if not for the next 4 or 5. Oh yeah, technical side. It's going to be a bit of a mixture. For me, technical staff, it's always about making sure you've got someone who has the skills and the competence and the confidence to do the job at a world-class standard. If those people are available in country, we always try and go with that. If there is a gap that we feel we need to fill it in with someone from outside the country, then we bring someone in. But there's also an expectation that we maybe tag them with a young Gambian person so they can shadow them and they can be upskilled and trained, so that in 5, 10, 15 years' time, we don't have to have foreign staff, that the staff of the team can be domestic staff. So, but it's about quality. So yes, we will be bringing, I think we're bringing 3 guys in who I've worked with in the past, but also I've been really delighted to get to know a number of the local staff, and we'll be meeting more this week. Because again, I say this about the players who've been there and done it. These guys on the technical bench have been a huge part of the success that the Gambia have achieved over the last 5 years. And their experience, their quality, their cultural understanding, which is something I don't have at this moment in time, the cultural understanding of the Gambia, I'm going to rely on that massively, and they're going to be a big part of any success that we achieve in the years to come.